This is Judd, and I am daydreaming about dragons again. And today I am daydreaming about the ecology and undead and what causes them to happen in the wild. Not so I want kind of a parallel, right? I want to kind of be inspired by maggots and rats, and nothing against rats, and honestly, nothing really against maggots, and carrion eaters, things that we associate with the dead, and things that we associate with critters that show up when maybe something in society has broken down, right? When the dead aren't disposed of properly, when garbage isn't disposed of properly. That's kind of where I want my undead to happen, but not necessarily when. It doesn't have to be a physical thing, right? It can be a spiritual thing. So zombies, right? I want them to be large groups. I want them slow moving, but moving together and devouring everything in their path. So maybe there's something that happens when there's a large group where something is left undone or a destination is left unleft, and it's and maybe if they're buried without proper blessing, something can seep in there and make a bit of a mess, right? And then we get into like ghouls and vampires. Maybe they're more about a societal breakdown, something going on with they're really, parasites, right? I mean, ghouls are eating people whole. Vampires are more like, I want to read a bit about the ecology of mosquitoes and what causes them to happen a lot. And I want them to latch into society when maybe something's happening with religion and it's not doing its part, or it's persecuting people without proper cause, or persecuting people against their God's will, right? Something's getting missed. Some kind of text is being misread. And vampires are a way to when vampires naturally occur, it's a way for a deity to say, hey, you're misreading this. That's why vampires have happened. Huh? Maybe. A holy knight rises from the dead, starts devouring people. It's not a subtle sign. So that's what, and then thinking about liches are a whole other thing. I've got ideas about them, but they're going to be for another time. They're kind of in a whole other category. Because I think most liches would be, so those are feral, right? Those are undead that I see happening because of something, an imbalance in society. Whereas undead that happen on purpose, undead that are created through unholy rite or fell rite, I see as ordained. Right? Even if it's ordained by some kind of demon god, even if it's ordained by some kind of fell undead deity, that's cool. But they're created on purpose. And I think vampires can happen either way. Same with zombies and ghouls and liches, right? I like the idea of ghoul knights. I just think it's cool. Eating people, eating mofos. It's good. I like it. I probably should throw ghosts. Right? This is going right in my notebook. Ghosts and skeletons. Right? So skeletons, all the flesh is gone. That's key for me. It's how they look. The flesh is gone, so they've been dead a long time. So maybe skeletons are happening when you're overwriting a society, you're overwriting a group of people. You're writing them out of history, and that's why they rise up. Huh? Maybe especially if they were pious people, or they saw themselves as pious. Suddenly they're being overwritten. If their holiness is being overwritten, capital H holiness is being taken out of history. That's why skeletons start to happen. And you can look and you can kind of see. And of course, the people who are causing it aren't going to see it. They might not believe it. And this might not be lore that everybody knows. I bet not everybody knows exactly why the animals come when, either. Nobody's sure why maggots come. I mean, people know, but they might not, the rabble might not know. uneducated folks might not know. So the lore of this might be lost. And that's what I'm thinking about. Ecology. Why do these things just spring up? Because things got messed up. Because humans are a mess. That's going to be, it's going to come up with Inspiration Goat too. I'm thinking about monsters today. Think about how they happen, why they happen, where they come from, what they eat, all that stuff. We're going to jump into that with Inspiration Goat too. But let's see what Inspiration Goat has. I'm pretty sure I know what Inspiration Goat has today. That's why this stuff is on my mind. It's all feeding into each other. It's going to seem like one big whole piece. So I apologize for ranting about monsters a lot. But the show's called Daydreaming About Dragons. I figured that's what you're here for. All right, Inspiration Goat. Show me what you got. Ooh, good pick, Inspiration Goat. We're going to talk about True Detective today. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And we're going to talk about how True Detective plays into what I've been saying about monsters, right? Let's talk about True Detective and monsters a little bit. Because in True Detective, the monsters are created by terrible cycles of abuse, and they are used by people in power to hold on to their power and continue the cycles of abuse and ruin people's lives, and particularly to prey on people on the fringes who don't have the power to protect themselves. Right? And I love that. It makes it feel real. Right? Because it makes it feel really real. It makes it feel different. And you can, the way that you deal with monsters, it can be man, your monsters can be shitty, right? If you play Dracula the wrong way, then he's a swarthy immigrant who's coming to your country to buy up land and bite all your women, right? Like, that's one reading of Dracula. It's one way to play it. It's not the one I like. It's not the one that interests me. All right? I don't want the monsters to be a one-to-one parallel. I don't want it to be too clear. I want to kind of have to squint and look and I don't know if this all makes sense. I want there to be strange things like the King in Yellow. And you know, how they call Detective Cole Little Priest. Ugh, creepy stuff. Carcosa. It's this old fort. This old abandoned fort. Woof. Creepy stuff. Good choice, Inspiration Goat. And this is definitely on my mind because I'm watching season 3, right? And we're watching the same kind of cycles play out. A monster does something terrible and picks on someone whose parents are under duress because of poverty and terrible shit and alcoholism and drug addiction. So these kids are kind of untethered and unprotected. And that's where monsters strike. And I like that. You know? That's cool stuff. That's where monsters come from. That's who monsters attack. Right? Like the way that wolves will attack the old and the young and the weak. That's where monsters look at the human herd and they figure out the people who are slow, which aren't going to make it, aren't going to be able to run away in time. It's scary. Scary, scary stuff. And it's cool. It's really cool. And then seeing people have to deal with that, have to pick up those pieces and deal with the consequences of a real monster having come into their lives. You know, whether that monster is a goblin or a serial killer or whatever. You know, because I think it's debatable. The other cool thing about True Detective is everything supernatural is entirely debatable, right? Particularly in the strong first and third seasons, we're dealing with narrators who have altered senses. Either their memory is a little messed up, like in this third season, or they did so many drugs while working for the DEA, like Detective Cole, that they kind of see things. Now, is it that Detective Cole sees things, or is it that his mind is suddenly open to detecting and seeing things that are really there? Doesn't matter. It's debatable. Who cares? Really, who cares? It's fun that we can have that discussion. It's fun that there's all these Lovecraftian trappings in the mix. But, need not. Who doesn't really matter. Doesn't really matter. And that's an interesting thing to have, be an interesting decision to make for your modern day horror campaign. I like that start for modern horror. That the real monsters are humans. There are horrific things, but really it's us. We're the bad ones. And when you do that, when you stick to that, you don't end up with these messes that we see White Wolf getting into lately with all kinds of messes, shitty messes. I feel like Unknown Armies did that well. The Sorcerer role-playing game did that well. You can see me doing that a bit in the actual play with my friend Rich. I'll post a link to that, where the demons were buildings, and the scary thing for me is humans, always humans, but they were getting these powers from the buildings. It's fun stuff. It's cool. I dig it. I like weird monsters, but I like to put them in places where, I don't know, I like to punch up. I don't like to punch down. So when creating monsters, I like to think about that a little bit. And I think looking at the monsters I like and the looking at Margaret Killjoy and looking at China Mieville and looking at the people who create really good monsters, really good demons, they kind of have their own ecology to them. They are a metaphor for humans, but it's not a clear metaphor. It's not English. It's not ninth grade English metaphor. Oh, this is so clear. No, it's not. This is not clear. It's hazy and it's messy. And when you look at it too carefully, you get sticky crap on your fingers. That's the kind of metaphor I like. A big mess. A big glorious mess. And True Detective does that really well. Really, really well. In both the first and third season, the second season too. But look for those spaces in True Detective, and look for it in all of your horror fiction of people on these fringes who a monster can prey upon. It's good stuff. Good stuff. And think about it in your own settings. Who's on the fringe, right? Who can the orcs just grab? Because it's easy. Easy. Who can they eat? Because there's nobody coming for them. Neat. I've been thinking about that a bit too. Taking inspiration from this, thinking about undead and their role in the ecology of the world. Not in too clear a way, right? It might be a spiritual ecology. They might be eating people who are just too sanctimonious. But I want some kind of feral undead, and I want them to be eating something like the way maggots eat something that is rotting, or the way that rats come when a certain type of food is left out and garbage isn't processed properly. Yeah. Yep. Thinking about monsters, folks. Daydreaming. Thank you. Thank you for daydreaming with me today. I hope you stayed with me. Let me know about what your thoughts are on monsters. What your thoughts are on True Detective. If you have any hot fan theories, hit me with them. Third season, first season, second season, I don't care, man. Let me know. Favorite moments. If you ran a game like that, let me know. I really want to run a game where the players are cops and they have a board with pictures and and like The Wire or like any of those cop shows. The third season True Detective has it. The Wire had it. True Detective had it. Bunch of pictures on the wall. I love that. Love it. Want to get back to that. If you've played a game like that, let me know. Let me know how it went. Let me know what you did to set it up. Looking forward to learning from you. And January's almost over, folks. Almost. We're coming to the end. Getting there. Almost a 12th done with this 2019. 1919? No. Wrong year, Jed. You're 100 years off. I hope your year is going well. I hope you are more than 1/12 on your way to your annual goals. And I will see you next Sunday. I'll be on schedule. I realize I was a little late. Have a good one, folks.